What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Three Amigos podcast. We are only here with two of us for today, unfortunately. Frankie couldn't make it today, but we do have myself and Chris. What's up, Chris?
Yeah, what's up, buddy?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Doing okay, doing okay. Interesting little Nintendo news bomb today. We got our first announcement of the new Nintendo Switch OLED is what they're calling it. So continuing Nintendo's storied pastime of being really bad at naming their consoles. Uh, Yeah, Anthony, you're the resident Nintendo Switch fanboy, so we will default to you. What's your immediate reaction here?
All right, what's the one thing I've been telling you guys for months and months?
Well, see, this is the thing now. This is the thing. It's you have said the Switch Pro isn't real. And then
Mm-hmm.
you've also said that Nintendo will not make a 4K system or a 4K Switch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, you know what I think? I told you. I think this is what they think the Switch Pro is. Like, this is as far as that technology will go. So to them, this is the Switch Pro. Not to the rest of us who
Right.
game in 4K and watch 4K movies and 60 FPS and all that. But I think how Nintendo's so far behind that I
Yeah.
think to them this is what was what was trending on Twitter was PlayStation Vita, and you know why that is?
Why is that?
Because the PlayStation Vita had an OLED screen.
Oh,
How old is the PlayStation Vita,
yeah,
Anthony?
it's pretty
How
old.
old is the
It's
Vita?
pretty old. I want to say what, like 5 or so years, maybe more,
Right.
roughly.
So that's why I think this is the Switch Pro. This just isn't, I didn't really pay that much attention to the leaks. A lot of what I thought was just common sense. Yeah, you want to kind of catch up a little bit to,
The Vita was
Xbox or
released
PlayStation.
in so the Vita was released November of 2013.
8 years. So it was released 4 years before the Nintendo Switch. And the Nintendo Switch didn't get an OLED screen until 8 years later,
Yeah.
after the technology was already out there for a while.
And it's funny because I used to have this thought back before anything was out there. I said, the Switch is docked and portable. The Switch Lite is only portable handheld. So I
Yeah.
was like, what if they made a Pro that is 4K, but it can't be handheld or portable? And that would be their way of making the system 4K compatible. And I legitimately thought that was gonna happen. Like, oh well, what is it? Because people would say if it's only gonna be docked, why is it called a Switch? Why is the Switch Lite called the Switch Lite if it's not dockable? If you can't switch from
I
one to the
mean,
other.
it's because they backed themselves into a corner with the
Right.
name of the system.
So I was like, if they make a 4K Switch, it's gonna be docked only. That's what I really thought. And all the improvements that you're getting from this new Switch, the primary improvement is the screen. That's only affecting portable play. It's not affecting TV mode.
Right. And it's also it's barely affecting portable play because it's not a resolution bump.
Right. It's just
It's literally the screen, the physical screen.
yeah.
That's because I think some of the narrative I'm seeing is people are acting as if oh yeah, it's a better screen. I'm like, well, I mean, technically, sure, but you're still playing the same, the games are gonna literally look and play exactly the same.
Right.
It's like if you buy an OLED TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't run in 720. It's been updated. It's OLED 4K 120 hertz, 4 HDMI, all that stuff.
Right.
Nintendo, you know what it was? This feels like the bare minimum for even like in Nintendo's terms, because they revise their systems usually every 2 years. Like this is right in line with the previous Nintendo Switch. It's right in line with the 3DS, 2DS XL, all that other stuff.
Right.
But like even the jump from the first Switch to the second one was a significant bump in battery life.
Right.
And so it to me it feels weird to release a third version of the same system, and like they're clearly hyping this handheld stuff, and like look at this. I mean, the big meme is going to be the base, like how wide the base is.
Oh, yeah, like the kickstand.
It's just they like they hit that so hard. They were like, it's so wide. I'm like, okay.
It's
That's when
like
I was worried. Like when I was watching the trailer, I was like, oh no. Oh no. This is like the thing. They're leading with the base size. This
it's
is
kind of like it's kind of like that was their way of saying, we've been listening to the fans about what needs to be done. Here's a new kickstand for you guys.
it's like that meme you see of the what is it though? Like the pawn shop guys who are like, best
Oh
I can
yeah.
do is a better kickstand. Like, it's like we want 4K, we want 60 FPS, we want 1080p handheld.
The best I can do
Best
is
I can do is
kickstand.
a wide kickstand. Can I interest you in a LAN cable, perhaps? You know, something that's been on other systems for like 10 years. Uh
and and it's funny because like so I was looking at the some of the specs online and a posting on Twitter. The posting had like the case that they're gonna sell, and it comes with two screen protectors. Here's the weird thing. So it comes with a screen protector for the OLED model and a screen protector for the standard model. I don't understand why, because I use because what we're seeing is potentially is just a smaller bezel.
yeah.
Any screen protector that I've purchased covers the entire thing, the bezels and the screen itself.
Right.
So I don't know what the difference is, other than maybe there's a difference in the shape of the speaker on the front and the bottom, because that also gets covered with the protector, or it goes around it. But why are you giving both protectors for included with the case for the OLED model? I just don't understand. Like, uh, here's what I wonder: who's gonna keep their regular Switch to buy this OLED model? I would assume you're trading in your Switch for the OLED model. That's what
Yeah.
I would assume. Um,
It sounds like, I mean, because like we talked about this a little earlier, was like they're rendering one of their current products irrelevant, right? Like I
right,
don't really know which one they're trying to phase out. I would assume they're trying to phase out both the old, like original Switch,
right,
and then also the one that we have, like the one from a couple of years ago,
right,
because they're not. But then that's why I'm confused. It's like, yeah, but all of the updates were mostly for handheld. So I'm looking at that as like, oh, this is a better Switch Lite, because like if you compare the Switch Lite to the new Switch, then you see more differences. But if you're comparing it to the current model that's out,
right.
the it's a slightly larger screen, which if you're docked, you're never gonna notice. I
And what's the funny thing? So, like for me personally, I never play in tabletop mode. It's very rare that I do. So I don't know who out there really does, but I've gotten a couple of these like mounts for the Switch that you can put on your table, and it keeps it from. I mean, it's a better kickstand than what the Switch has, and it lets you charge it while you're in tabletop mode. Those stands cost like at most $5. So
yeah.
even if you get an updated Switch that isn't the OLED, and you for some reason want to play tabletop mode, you're saving that $50 by buying a $5 stand. I even have one from Hori that was like $20, and it gives you two USB ports and the USB-C port to charge it while you're using it. So you're at least getting the extra add-on of two ports. Um, I think the OLED model is designed to phase out the standard Switch in the terms of it has a Ethernet port in the back, and that's about it. And if you want to play it in portable mode, your screen is a bit bigger. And maybe to phase out the Switch Lite because of those portable features, but the Switch Lite is still going to be someone's preferred choice if they only want portable because it's $150 cheaper and it's smaller, so it's more easy to carry around and put it in certain pockets or book bags. So that's also the option for that one. It's wild.
Do you think that because like I'm still it to me, and like I was reading something before this, which was like Nintendo was even asked by I think The Verge, and they straight up asked them like, because some people were like, oh, Nintendo's probably like holding some stuff back, and then they'll like do a little direct or something in September, and they'll tell us more about it. And they literally said like it's the same CPU, GPU, like there's no extra RAM. There's
Right.
literally no internal spec difference other than the 64 gigabyte storage that's different than the Switch currently out. None.
Right.
There is no, this is like from the company that just released the trailer.
Right.
Is like flat out saying there's no difference. Do you think that there was like potentially like because we kind of saw this with like PlayStation and Xbox. Like, do you think COVID impacted like maybe they did want to make one with better battery life and they just couldn't get, secure
Mm,
like the parts or the, get the
right.
factories running at the capacity they would have needed?
Well, so I wonder how much. Let's start with the battery. Like, how much
Yeah.
more could they upgrade the battery without the console severely overheating on itself?
Yeah.
Sure, you got those vents on the top of the Switch, but how? We don't know what could happen with a bigger battery that isn't properly handled. You would have to add more vents and maybe more internal fans to try to cool it off. Um, as for anything else with the pandemic, um, at this point, I don't know because you have even the other consoles where they had the same parts that were being used for iPhones or something, and
Yeah.
so they couldn't make as many consoles, which is strange to think about that difference in devices of like one can play massively 4K games and it
Right.
uses the same components as a little phone that can play mobile, watch videos and stuff. Like the things that a console could do greatly outweighs the things a phone can do. And granted, I don't know anything about the process of it, but I don't think, the question comes in of like, was Nintendo really trying to do a 4K console? I don't think they ever were trying to do a 4K console. 4K console. I was talking to a friend of mine today. He told me, in his opinion, he doesn't think the 4K is needed for a Nintendo console. And I've told him a couple years ago, I don't think they can do a 4K console. I don't think they have the capabilities to do it, which is strange from a company with so much years of experience and hard work. That
Yeah.
can they really do a 4K console? And if they can, you also got to figure out if the developers themselves can make a 4K game because they still got to take a lot of steps back for the third party games. Look at Mortal Kombat on Switch. Mortal Kombat on Switch looks horrible compared to the 4K versions of the other consoles. So what other games would then have that same issue of it's 4K, but it's more like 2K. It's not exactly the
Right.
4K resolution
Yeah.
that you have
Oh,
to
it's
take.
really 1440. Like the Switch
Yeah,
can't actually like output. Yeah.
right.
Like
And
any third party game is always going to play the worst on Switch.
right. And
Like between the big
the only way it wouldn't is if you have to download like 50 gigs of data
right,
externally.
right,
Which another thing that increase of internal storage, it still isn't enough. The video that I uploaded today, I said, we got phones that go up to like 256 gigabytes internally.
right.
We could at least could have got 128 internally, but hey, at least they did 64 gigs. At least they doubled it, which is fine. I guess if you want to take a lot of screenshots and photos, because I have my main Switch has a 400 gigabyte SD card,
Well, that's
and
the thing
it's
that I was seeing was like, okay, the current Switch model has been
mhm,
out for 2 years. So if you have that model, there's a pretty good chance you bought a memory card almost right away.
yeah,
Because you're
unless you got
like
one for
32
free.
gigs, that's not enough.
Yeah,
Like that's enough for like 3 games and that's it.
right.
So like I guess I'm still just like who I don't I don't know who this is for because if it's like if you're aiming this at new customers who don't have a Switch, I would think the first thing I would do like when the new consoles were coming out and they made, digital and disc ones.
Right.
You're looking at the cheaper one and thinking, well, is that one so different? Like, can I just get that and save the money? And so,
Right.
like, if unless they straight up like haven't announced that they're not going to be manufacturing any more of the current model, and like eventually it'll just be gone from stores, like, why wouldn't you choose that? Like, if someone came to me and they were like, oh, there's these three Nintendo Switch models, which one should I get? I get the $300 one.
Right.
Like, it's almost exactly the same, and unless you need to plug a LAN cable into the back, like, or you play on tabletop all the time, like,
Right.
I don't, and like, I
That's
don't, they mentioned the audio. I never had a problem with the Switch's audio. I thought the Switch audio was actually really good. So
right. I've
I don't know who
noticed
this is for.
so I noticed audio in my experience was game dependent. Like some games just don't sound as good as other games. But I
Sure.
also, mentioned before that I don't know anyone who uses a Switch without headphones or, some type of Bluetooth adapter if they're playing handheld.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's more for the tabletop. If you're gonna do tabletop with somebody, you're not gonna have headphones unless you have the adapter to pair up to Bluetooth headphones. But without it, that's what the tabletop is for.
Right.
I know someone who they're gonna get this new Switch, but the reason is because there's one of their sons has a Switch Lite, and the family has another Switch that they share. So he wants to buy this new one so he can give the regular Switch to his other son. Um, which for that is like that's fine. You have a reason to buy it.
Yeah.
Whereas my only reasoning to get it, if I am getting it, is just for my YouTube review. That's about it. If I
Right.
get it from Best Buy, I can unbox it, review it, put it back in the box, take it back to Best Buy, get my money back because Best Buy doesn't care; they'll do the return.
Right.
um,
Right.
but you made the point of like, if the standard one is already 300, you're saving $50. And even without the LAN cable option, you can buy an adapter. Like I bought my adapter from Amazon. I only paid 30 for it because it's the Nintendo branded one. You can get
Right.
a non-brand one for like $20 at Best Buy and use, I have Ethernet connected to mine all the time. So you have that option for a regular Switch. You're still saving money by buying an adapter. Um, and you lose the USB port in the back for that adapter for that Ethernet port on the new model.
Right. They took it
Um,
away.
yeah, I don't know. The more we talk about it, the more I'm just like, why?
Well, that's the thing. Like as soon as Frankie shared the video, I was instantly excited. I was like, "Oh shit!" Like they didn't announce it at
Right.
E3. Like they wanted to wait for whatever reason. Now we kind of know why.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Well,
"Okay, I'm excited." And then as I was watching it, I was like, "Okay, the white and black, I dig that. It looks super clean. The screen looks nice." And then as the trailer went on, like all this stuff started hitting me of like, gee, they're not really talking about any docked features. Like
right.
they're showing games that look pretty much the same. And then when it was over, I was like, okay, like there's still a part of me that was like, even though knowing if your shit was 4K, you would lead with that.
Right.
You wouldn't like bury it in the spec report afterwards or something.
Well,
And
it's
I was
funny
like, well,
because
maybe, maybe it's maybe there's some stuff that they just were keeping to themselves. Nintendo's weird like that.
right.
But then the more I like looked at like rewatched the trailer and was like reading about it and even looking at the specs, even right down to the fact that they copied and pasted the same battery life description that they had for the current Switch model. And I was like, this is, and it's like it's weird because it's not a bad system. Like the Switch is one of the more revolutionary ideas in gaming,
Right.
but I don't understand who it's for because as a current owner, I don't want it. I'm not
It's
I'm
funny
not
because
I play mostly docked. I'm not selling my current Switch to
right.
essentially pay a $65 tax to get a slightly 0.8 inches bigger screen. Like,
And I have the Mario Red Switch. I ain't selling that one. Hell no.
yeah, I don't
Well, it's funny because when I had the chat on mute and I woke up to a tweet, and I don't know who sent it to me. I don't know why I'm getting tweets because I don't really use Twitter, but I saw like the Nintendo tweet about the new console, and I was watching it, and I was gonna share it with you guys, and so I copied the link for the video, I opened up the messenger and I saw all the messages between you guys. And I was like, oh crap, they already saw it. Like first thing I did when I
Yeah.
woke up was saw it and I was like, oh wow, let me get up and make a video. And like when the first Nintendo Switch trailer, the first reveal ever came out, I don't know if you remember the trailer. It's a guy playing Zelda in his house and his dog wants to go for a walk and he takes the Joy-Cons
Yeah.
out. And when I saw that part of the trailer so many years ago, I was like, holy shit,
I
that
was
is
mind blown.
fucking cool.
I was
I was
my
like,
he like just picks it up and I'm
yeah, I
like,
was like,
what
that
like
is
what are you doing? What
cool.
are you doing? You're gonna disconnect it.
Yeah, I even thought like I was like, oh, is that just like they're just showing it that way in the trailer, but it's really like a different way to do. No, that's how you do it. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
holy shit, like this. It
It
took
was
me,
revolutionary. Like
yeah, it was like
when I first got the Switch and I had it docked, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it out and play it. I was like nervous to just like pick it right up
right,
because you grew up your whole life. You're like, if you disconnect the system from anything that looks like a plug, you're fucked.
yeah,
All your shit's gonna get erased. And like to just pick it up and then it like Pokemon just picked up from exactly where I was. I was like,
right.
this is wild. Like this
Even
is
like
actually insane.
so, like when I was living in Buffalo, I didn't have to pay for heat. Everyone else had to. It was just a deal I had with my landlord, and because they didn't want to pay for their heat, they would all get a space heater and it'll constantly, blow a fuse in the house. So if I was playing my PlayStation game, blow a fuse, I had to, fix my hard drive, do the whole reset process. With a Switch, you blow a fuse, guess what? Just pick it up out the dock and
Yeah, keep
continue
on
your game.
playing.
Like that's what I love about this console, the Switch in general, just like the fact that it can do that. But is the upgraded model worth the extra $50? I don't think it is. You don't think it is? I don't think it is.
It's a tough like even as someone who was like very excited for whatever the next like I was super determined to try to get a PlayStation 5 right away. If I could
Right,
have afforded it, and like if I could also then afford Game Pass and stuff, like I probably would have tried to get an Xbox.
right,
Like I was very excited for this next generation. And so I was excited for the whatever the next Switch was gonna be. And like I remember like when I was playing my PS5 at the beginning, I was like, yeah, I can't really argue the fact that this is really just a slightly better PlayStation Pro. Like the UI is nicer and everything runs smoother, but like there's not really like a huge reason yet to have one.
right,
And like on the new Switch, there's not even like the resolution or the FPS bump.
right,
It's the same thing. So I think that's why I'm kind of like, there's always that party that's like, oh, it's the new thing, so you want it. But
right.
then I feel like it's one of those things where it's like as soon as you get it, you're kind of like, yeah, this is what I had already, and I just paid more money. Like you already have
Right,
a memory card. What you don't need the 64 gigabytes.
right, exactly.
That's useless. You have 400 gigs. What the hell is an extra 32 gigabytes going to do for you?
Right.
I
And
don't know. I think a lot of like Nintendo fans are gonna complain at first and then pre-order it anyway
right,
because that's just kind of how Nintendo like expects their fans to be because that's how they are. Like they complain and then they're like, all right, let me pre-order one anyway.
right,
But like I don't see the need for this unless for some future update a year from now they announced that oh only OLED is going to be getting a 60 FPS bump and you'll be able to play Pokemon or shit for some Switch games just bump them up to 30 FPS. My God, they run like
right.
absolute dog shit.
Well, it's
So
funny
like
because
yeah
I saw this comment section today on Twitter, and somebody was making a comment about oh, like unlike the PS5, I can still play games because the PS5 has no games out. And the person responded, oh, well, we have Demon Souls and this and this and that. And I was like, okay, but it's still not enough to rush out and get a console right now, in my opinion. And
not when they all
then
cost $70.
yeah, and then he was like, oh, well, I can play my Switch on the go. And the person replies with a picture of remote play, which I mean, honestly, I hate when people promote this what is it, cloud gaming thing when it's
Yeah.
still not working as it should. It barely works as it is. When it comes down to it, people need to stop saying, "Oh, I can use remote play on my PlayStation or cloud gaming on my phone for Xbox and play on the go." You really can't. It's really not going to work as well when you're on the go. At least with the Switch, the console is with you and you're playing it on the go.
Yeah.
But it's part of the whole thing of like when they were talking about, oh, we might see games that are only playable on the pro model like we saw with the 3DS. I think being that there was only maybe 2 to 3 games that had that function on the 3DS, they weren't going to do it for the new Switch. I think they were going to be like, you know what, that's kind of stupid. We may not see the sales number for this newer model. I mean, they are going to see the sales numbers because Nintendo fans are going to buy it.
Yeah.
um but I remember I said Nintendo's late to the party. they're
I
also
mean, yeah.
they're also early to the party because like the Wii came out, I believe, before the 360 and the 3. I could be wrong, but the Wii U came out before the PS4 and the Xbox One. The Switch came out before the PS5 and the Series X. So give it another 3 to 4 years or so, you'll get the new, whether it's the Switch 2 or the Nintendo mystery um console, and then you'll see PS6 and Xbox Ultimate X, because we can't think of any other letters in the alphabet besides X. Just
Besides
25.
S and X.
Yeah. Xbox A or something.
Right. God.
um
Yeah.
so they released a console early, and then their features and functions are just not up to date. Like the Wii was at what, 480p you said, or barely 480p.
480p.
The Wii U only failed due to its failure of marketing,
Yeah.
which no one can argue. That even Nintendo themselves say it. Like no one can. I know how people on YouTube are arguing with me over stupid shit. They can't
Right.
argue this statement. And I don't know. I mean, they had a decent library, I guess. I don't know what major stuff they had out there for the Wii U, but there was a couple of decent stuff, I guess.
Also, I mean, this has always just been my opinion. I don't know if this is like a broad feeling, but like in my view, the Switch only exists because the Wii U came out. Like I remember when they first like showed the Wii U and they had that gigantic gamepad and they were like, yeah,
Yeah.
you play the game. It's like the controller and you play it on the controller. And people were like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And then they literally like all they did was add a dock for the same thing. And people were like, this is amazing. Unbelievable. Nintendo is changing the world. I'm like, they already came out with this. That was the
Right.
first draft. Like, what are you
And
talking
And I
about?
think what's funny is like the gamepad for the Wii U had like touchscreen features that you can do things with the game, and they're like, oh, it's really stupid. But then they go and get their 2DS and 3DS, and it's like, this is really fun. I can do
Bro, I
that.
never understood the Wii U hate because I'm like, you guys know that's the only reason they made the Switch is like they stuck with their like, we know there's something here with like handheld and playing on TV. And they found a way to just mesh them together. But like, I was always like, wait, that's the only reason the Switch even exists. That was definitely
Right.
like on their drafts of like, oh, maybe we can get it to just like connect directly to the television. Yeah, I
Now
have a
does
one final question. I was wondering because you know it is going to be a new Switch model, and it's releasing around a time when there's about to be a bunch of new games. Pokemon's coming out the next month,
oh yeah.
and then there's like another Pokemon coming out a couple months after that. Do you think we finally see them update the UI? Do you think we finally get something like they add themes, like they add some sort of I don't know extra like wallpaper option, something to just make it look, or even a background color different than red and white? Do you think they add
In black
anything?
and white.
Just like, you think they
No,
add
I
anything
don't think I
to
don't think they are.
nothing to make it feel different? Nothing.
No. So like my friend was telling me about like, there's no changes to the Joy Cons. I don't know what kind of
No.
changes he was expecting. In my video that I uploaded, I had said all we need really is the drift to be fixed.
Yeah.
Um,
They're not going to do
yeah. I
that.
don't. Um, so Doug Bowser, he came out a few days ago in whatever interview he had, and basically he said, "Look, we are only gonna do a new hardware when we feel like it's time for a new hardware. Now, if anyone out there thinks, this counts as new hardware. Mm,
That's what I'm telling you, though. This is a company that is chronically behind the times.
yeah.
They are releasing an HD remake. HD, Anthony.
Well, here's the funny
That
thing.
was,
So I was on their website earlier, and so because they say they focus on software. The website says Nintendo has roughly 5,000 games and counting. So it's like you already focused on the software. Now get us the next level of hardware.
yeah. You know
And
why that quote also worries me when if the people at the top don't think it's time. Like, are you kidding me? You're pitching a console that in handheld runs 720p if you're lucky.
right,
You don't think that it might be time for an upgrade yet? The same system, effectively, from a resolution perspective, the same system has been out for 4 years. So and now we're at least 2 years away from maybe whatever the new Nintendo something is.
right.
So it just worries me about like the idea. I mean, geez.
And it's funny, like I know how certain devices have different features and capabilities, but like a phone costs more than a console, and yet they can't play things as great as a console can. My GoPro, granted it's only filming stuff and not really playing video games or whatever. My
Right.
GoPro films 5K video, and it costs more than it costs more than the OLED Switch. It costs like $450 roughly. So you tell me, are they not interested in getting this 4K thing? But the one thing I want people to take away from this is if anyone out there, whoever listens, if they had worries of I can't play Pokemon Legends Arceus because I don't have a Switch Pro, or I can't play,
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild 2, well, you're in luck because you're gonna get to play all those games because they're not what's the phrase? They're not locked under a pro console because there is no pro console. And if you're out there who still think that there is going to be a pro console before the next generation of Nintendo consoles, I don't think it's going to happen.
I
I
think
don't.
this is it. I think
There's,
I think this is the Switch Pro.
yep.
And it's just not they have a very different idea of what a Switch Pro looks like than we did. So yeah.
What's the Batman quote? It's not the hero we deserve, but the hero we needed, or something like
Hero we
that.
needed. We
Yeah, this
deserved
is
and needed better than
yeah.
both.
This
We
is
needed
this
we
is not
yeah.
this is not the console we deserve, nor is the one that we needed.
Yeah. Nobody, yeah, who asked for this?
And that's an Anthony
Uh
Alon quote. But I guess that's a good place to end this for today.
yes. Thank you everyone for listening to the three amigos, aka just the two amigos for today. We will be back with you for another one's hopefully sometime sooner than 2 months from now.
Yeah, hopefully within the next couple of years.
Yeah, next couple of weeks, couple of months. We'll see. Yeah.
We'll see. But I'm Anthony Olon from Anthony Olon Tech. This is my good friend Chris from the Film Cubano. Check us out on YouTube and Instagram. Um, Chris, how many subscribers you got now on your channel?
We're up to 130. We're
130.
we're
So
inching.
we're on the road to we're on the road to 200. I'm at 185 now. So on the road to 200. Let's get those numbers, guys. This has been the Three Amigos podcast, or today, the special Two Amigos podcast, and we will catch you guys on the next one.